Light makes heat, heat makes light. Heat has density. As heat increases, density will increase if the heat is encapsulated. So heat will either expand, or if it's encapsulated, it will increase in density. And that replicates through the entire reality system. So just draw a circle and a dot in the middle. The circle represents a boundary, an encapsulation, if you like, for a body. And inside the body there's heat. That heat is increasing. And so the density increases at the center. Why does the density increasing? Because the encapsulation is decreasing. So there's a tension between the shrinking of the encapsulation of the body and the heat that is inside the body. If the heat cannot escape through the encapsulation, it will increase density at the center. Think of a planet. Here's your cross section. It's a planet, planet Earth. At the center, there is, the outside is a crust, an encapsulation, and it's fairly thin. Most of the inside is molten, solid solution, austenitic. It's molten, it's moving all the time. So the heat in there is being compressed by a force which is compressing the planet. So the heat goes to the center. Now, when heat reaches its value, I think it's eutectic temperature, it has to do something, has to keep moving. That's why the planet is moving inside. It's the heat that is in motion itself. Only place it can go, if it reaches a maximum level, is into time. Its density in time, in seconds squared, increases. So its movement in meters per second can be measured at a point of maximum density. It's measured in meters per second squared because it's dented into space-time. And that's where the light is then created, because once the heat reaches that value inside and pushes into space-time, it creates a reaction, because there's a physical zero entropy boundary there between dimensions that cannot be crossed. They're physically incompatible, and yet here we are. It's there. It's happened. Encapsulation, density, contraction and expansion has resulted in a dent in space-time. And so that's where the light is then created, because there's a reaction, a spark is created. And that spark is created in a 137 arc second rotation of that circle. There's a gap in the circle where the spark occurs. Now that spark creates a reaction which creates an encapsulation of the action that just occurred, of the motion of heat pushing into space-time, not allowed. Therefore there's a reaction, and it resets back to the point in time where that physical impossibility was breached. But the action of so doing adds energy, because it's taken the light of the spark and it's taken the light, so the whole of the encapsulation has been added, and it pushes back and then resets. And so you can see the force of entropy measured as a 10 to the 42 lever arm with a bending moment at either end, and a second moment of area, 1 meter 4, created at the center. And that's where the encapsulation occurs, because there's a bend in the light, and it has a 137 arc second bend through that 10 to the 42 meters, and that's the size of the time particle created in there. Okay, happy? Is this making sense? Because then it's the power of that bending arm creates an entropic boundary between above and below it, because of the bend in it. It's like a wing, different pressures, different tensions. It creates different dimensions, space and time. And so you've got the 10 to the 42 meter lever arm in space pressing into infinite time, adding to infinite time. So it adds the number on the end of pi because of the relationship of the circle and the spark. And so the observations that we're making are from, imagine a bowl of the universe as you measure it, and it's just the heliopause is going to become more and more dense as Voyager increases and finds more and more electrons. It hits a boundary of the layers of time that have been built up over time, that have been added through this process. And so the observations are the bowl with our head sticking into time, but we're upside down. Yeah, so whichever way you want to picture it, I see it like that, as a bowl. Here we are standing in the bowl of the solar system and the heliopause. Here we are at the center, reality. There's a bubble, our heads are in the bubble, and we're experiencing life, which is inevitable because of this entropic law. That entropy over infinite time equals motion. Motion of what? Motion of heat. Motion of heat creates difference, plus to minus, expressed in all sorts of various ways. Electricity, magnetism, density, creating the light, which creates the beam, which creates the entropic boundary, which creates the pressure, which creates over infinite time, which creates the motion, which creates life. And you notice that the dent into space-time was a meter per second squared, and therefore there's the energy of infinite time being added to pi, creating gravity, which holds everything together because it all spins the same way. Okay? Imaginary numbers are real. Negative is just a vector. Look again. Welcome to the future. Come on. Love rules. Do the work. Choose.